All right, we're going to get fair income here. We've lined up 7 of the popular dual cab utes. They're all automatics, all diesels. We're going to see how they tow and how they carry stuff. First of all, we've got 800 kg on a pallet. We're going to put that in the back of all of them, running through a loop. And then we'll do a tow test either with a 2,800 kg excavator or a 3,500 kg site forklift. We're going to hook that up back of all of them, run them through the same loop, compare them, see how they come up to the manufacturer's claims.
The updated Colorado is the only new model here. 147 kilowatts, 500 Newton meters in auto form. Immediately, the advances are apparent. The transmission is just light years ahead of what it used to be like. It's much smarter. The changes are smoother and it's a lot more intelligent. It will sense grades, it will downshift for you to assist with braking, and the steering is magnificent. It owes a lot to VF Commodore. The engine's a little bit quieter, it's still a little bit noisy, but it works hard. I can feel the power now as we go up the hill here. It's nearly keeping up with some of the bigger displacement engines. The rear end doesn't feel so settled. 3.5 tonnes, a big weight. It is a little bit jiggly compared to a couple of the others, but really impressed with the transmission.
We've got 800 kgs in the back here, which pretty well is close to maximum payload through this car. Well, most of these utes have got that sort of payload. Pulling up this hill here, tell the truth, you'd hardly feel the weight in the back. It's possibly pulling a gear lower than what you'd expect if it was unladen, but power-wise, performance-wise, it feels terrific. Then you notice the car has a slightly nose-up attitude, and the steering's probably a bit lighter, but aside from that, it's doing it really comfortably.
This is the Nissan Navara, and of all the vehicles in this group, this is the one that I probably had most questions about, and straight away it's lively underfoot, it's 2.3 litres bi-turbo, and it's responsive from a performance point of view, but my goodness, it's not towing well. This suspension is not coping with this load, not one bit. It's so nose up or sitting right down the back. Performance-wise, it seems like a really willing little goer. It's really responsive to throttle pressure and gets up and barks.
The Nissan Navara is unique because it's got coil springs at the back. Still has a live axle, but unlike all the rest, it has coils, not loose springs. Where we put the weight in the back, we notice how much it dropped down. And it feels quite light, the steering, and probably not as stable and as well planted as what you'd like it to be. And you certainly feel the bumps quite a bit now. On the plus side, engine does it very easily. It's not really working hard, 7-speed automatic. Up here it's probably pulling a few less revs than any of the others. But as I said, the problem is it's riding very low at the back.
So now we're up with the big boys. This is 3.5 tonne gross towing. And this is the benchmark in the segment that's kind of spurred a lot of development on a lot of fronts. 147 kilowatts, 470 Newton meters. This 3.2 litre 5-cylinder diesel, it's a really lumpy, grunty powerhouse. It really brings torque in low. Going up a grade here, it's working hard, but it doesn't feel stressed. And I think what complements it is actually the ride. It's a fairly effortless sort of truck. You wouldn't mind towing this kind of weight any sort of distance. It knows it's there, but it's manageable.
So not surprisingly, coming up here with this 800 kg in the tray, you hardly feel it at all. I mean, it's like using a lower gear than what it would do otherwise. It also rides very well. I mean, the nose is up a bit, but not very much. In fact, either from an engine point of view or a chassis point of view, you hardly knew you'd had 800 kg in the tray. I mean, it's certainly this company is one of the best we've run through yet.
So in automatic, guys, the Toyota's only rated to 3.2 tonne towing. In manual, you'll get the full 3.5 that a lot of its competitors are claiming. 450 Newton meters comes out of this 2.8 litre engine, but it feeds it on about 1600 RPM, which is low enough to actually get you rolling, especially in this sort of hilly country. The 6-speed transmission still needs a bit of intervention in the hills. The top 2 gears are effectively overdrive, so you're not really going to see 6th gear very often while you're towing a great big load. But it will jump up into 6, if you're on flat country and don't have a headwind. Where the Toyota really shines is the rear suspension. It's really quite stable. When this model came out, the springs were made longer, they were moved outboard, and there's less feeling of the trailer shunting the rear end of the ute around. It makes it quite stable, even with quite a chunky load on like this.
As you know, Hilux has got an excellent reputation as a workhorse vehicle, and pulling up here, it's doing it very easily. It's probably a gear lower than what it would be without the weight on board, but it's really not working hard whatsoever. Likewise, the chassis feels good, hardly feels nose up at all. You don't sort of feel the weight in the back, it's not rolling around, it doesn't feel at all unstable. Yeah, pretty impressive. All right, we're in the Isuzu D-Max here. Of these cars, it's got the least amount of torque, 380 Newton metres. Going up here, you can feel the bit because it's revving a lot harder than the others. It certainly seems to be working a bit harder. On the other side of the coin, it's riding quite well. The front's up a bit, but not too much. Considering we've got 800 kg in the tray, the chassis feels, pretty nice. Moving around a little bit, the steering's a bit light, as you'd expect, but all up, doing a pretty good job of it.
You can already tell that it's definitely got the least torque of them all. It's settled into 2nd gear and it's not really going anywhere from 2nd. It's strong enough, but it's just not as strong as some of the others anyway. It's a little bit down in the back with all the weight on it, but it's still holding the road okay. It does a good job, but it's up against some pretty good competition amongst a couple of them.
The Mitsubishi Triton has always been a little bit of an unsung product, but the revamp, 140 kilowatts, it's still got a 5-speed automatic transmission, and it actually has challenged a few preconceptions. We've got 2.8 tonne behind this thing and well within its tow envelope, and it's doing a pretty good job.
Along with the Navara, this has got the smallest engine, only 2.4 litres. The difference between this and Navara is Navara has a bi-turbo system, this is a single turbo. So on paper you think that it might work a bit harder than the rest, but actually it pulls up here quite nicely. It's holding a gear lower than what you would if it didn't have the weight at the back, but it's not really working hard, it feels quite good. Similarly, with the weight in the back, this thing's got a lot of overhang on the rear axle. Most of the tray's behind the rear axle. We thought that it may affect its attitude, maybe more nose up, but it's doing quite well. All in all, a bit of a surprise packet. We thought this might have been a struggler, but it's not at all.
This is the Mazda BT50. It's perhaps unfortunate that a lot of people see it as the poor relation to the Ford Ranger. But we're climbing Mount Tarangara at the moment, and it's certainly responsive enough, and it's doing everything right, and steering's really fine on it. It really does feel solid, this car. And I've only just climbed into it, and it's got those nice solid feelings that you want in a 4-wheel drive, particularly when you're towing something reasonably heavy. One thing I really have noticed about this early is it really does hang on with torque. It's a very, very strong engine down low, and it'll pull down to 2,000, even 1,800 revs before it'll kick down. And on a hill like this with a load that we've got on the back, that's a pretty impressive trait.
Pulling up here, doing it pretty easy, about 2,500 RPM, not really working hard at all. What you do notice, however, is at the back with the 800 kg in the tray, seems to be riding very close with bump stops. It's banging quite a lot at the back, something that certainly the Holden didn't do. Not really a problem, but it just feels a bit light at the front, and so the attitude of the car seems to be more upset by the weight than what the Holden was. Okay, we're pretty well wrapped up our testing here, what we're calling the fair income test. As you'd expect, with the 7 of them, there's some winners, some also ran, and one that probably didn't do so well. We did expect the Ranger and the BT50, which are very closely related, to do well. So what do you think, Matt?
There are a couple of surprises there. I think we had a couple of ideas on ones that wouldn't be so good, and they actually did quite well.
Steve, Hilux, what do you think? Smaller engine, does the job?
It does the job surprisingly well. I didn't think it would perform as well as it did, to be quite honest with you, but yeah, I think the Hilux did a great job.
So you think the little engine's up to the job?
Absolutely, yeah. At 3.2 tonne maximum, yeah, I think it is, without a doubt.
And the Mitsubishi, it's a smaller ute, Matt.
That was the surprise, actually.
Little engine, 2.4.
Little engine and a lot of overhang behind the rear axle.
Short wheelbase, yep.
I actually thought it was going to struggle.
Yeah.
The transmission feels a little bit antiquated, but the engine does a great job, and I was really surprised by the Mitsubishi.
Yeah, so was I. I thought that might have been a struggler, but didn't struggle at all.
No, but the Nissan.
Well, the Nissan was the only car with coil springs on the back, and to tell the truth, it didn't tow too well and didn't carry the weight. And the back end sagged quite a lot. The engine didn't seem too bad, but the chassis, 3,500 kg, seems a bit optimistic.
Even at 3 tonne, I think with that suspension it would struggle, but 3.5 tonne is really too much for it. Yeah.
Well, what we haven't done yet is gone home and gone through our notes and looked at GVMs and GCMs and payloads and make a few sort of calculations on things to see how these things rank. Once we've done that, it's all got to be in the magazine, so buy the magazine and have a read.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Should make some interesting reading, I would think. Yeah.